So that leads us to the challenge, right? We just got a crash course into really what the blockchain and blockchain technologies are. And our challenge is to redesign a blockchain explorer. Now, if you imagine the blockchain as some sort of database where you could view the transactions that we talked about, it looks very, this is an example of a current blockchain explorer for the Ethereum blockchain, Etherscan. And it looks like a table. It's very boring. It's kind of hard to understand what is going on here. Another example is blockchain.info, which looks very similar to this. And so if we are looking at a particular blockchain, we want to design a new type of blockchain explorer. And so that's our challenge today, is to think what kind of visual elements we could integrate, whether it's types of search or viewing each individual transaction, how we could improve the user experience of that. And so we're going to be getting into groups, and we have about 5 different stations, and we're going to be getting into groups of about 7 or 8 people. And if you could have at least one person that has some experience with blockchain in your group, so at least one person, that would be great. That way you can really sit down and think, okay, if we're looking at a table like this, the modern day example, how do we turn this into something that's more user-friendly? A really great way to say it is if my mom was trying to, not mom, if my grandma was trying to figure this out, how would she take a look at it? And so right now, if she was to take a look at this, it would be just a bunch of numbers, kind of confusing. And so we really want to make it very easy for someone to understand what data they're looking at and how to access that data.
I'm not really sure what to explain here. Does somebody just want to start asking questions? Maybe that's a good way to kick this off. I mean, I could just say, this means this, this means this, this means this, but I don't know if that's going to be the most effective use. All right, question, great. How do people use the Blockchain Explorer now? There will usually, can we go to the lives? The use case of the Blockchain Explorer, okay. Usually to just check the status of a transaction. Did it go through? Is it still pending? How much money is in this account? How many tokens does this person have? That's a usual use case for a blockchain explorer. Though, given that it just reads data off of the blockchain like you would read from a database, you really can do a lot with just reading, like taking user input around what do they want to look at and then displaying it.
Matt, this is a particular wallet. Maybe it would be helpful to look at the home page. This is after somebody's wallet address. So yeah.
All right. So this is the home page.
And then there's that search by address transaction hash,
which is usually.
And that's kind of the primary interaction.
Yeah. So usually people will search for an address or a contract. You can think of an address as maybe your wallet, the money that you hold. Contract is more kind of like some sort of an application layer. Let's see if we can just see.
Another example is like, let's say I want to send Ethereum to Matt. Anybody that is in the audience would be able to check the status of that transaction. Now that's for cryptocurrency as an example. Earlier somebody was talking about art and how you could assign, or you could have art sales on a decentralized blockchain network. Now, we gave a really good example that when you're transferring something or making a transaction, there's a certificate that validates that. So another example would be identifying which items are being transferred by looking at that data in a blockchain explorer.
Yeah, so you can see here you've got how many tokens exist, how many holders there are. Then this is all of the transactions on the left here. This is a number that's unique for the transaction. You have how long ago the transaction went through, the pseudonym that it's coming from, and the pseudonym it's going to, and then the quantity of that transaction. Usually this is a lot of what it looks like, just to, from, amount, that kind of thing. Another question in the back.
How do they obtain this data? How do keepers obtain this data?
So how did Etherscan obtain this data? Etherscan just looks at the Ethereum blockchain and displays the information. So everything that's on here is completely public. As long as you have access to the Ethereum blockchain, you can pull in all this information, and a lot of the Block Explorer task is just structuring how it looks. But all of this data is available to everyone.
Right, and one of the core benefits to blockchain technologies is the transparency. So anyone can really access this data. If Etherscan is accessing it and just showing it to us and really creating their app is really the Explorer. So think of it as like a front end of a database. If you're looking into some sort of database, there's a front end UI similar to this where you could see the database tables or structure or whatever it may be.
Another question all the way in the back.
So are we doing a design jam?
Yeah, so what we're going to do, we wanted to jump in and really ask or answer any questions that people had with blockchain, because there's a group of people that are designers and a group of people that come from the blockchain side of things. And so we wanted to explain a little bit about the technology before we break up into sessions. So I think that now is actually a good time to break up. And so how this works is that there's 5 rooms laid out. And room number 1 is over there. There's a big post-it with a big sign that says 1 in it. Room 2 is right here. Room 3 and 4 is in this corner conference room. And room 5 is over there. So what we want to do is we want to get into groups of 7 or 8 and have at least one person that has experience with blockchain to be on your group. And we have additional information about the task on printed sheets in each of those rooms to give you a little bit of a better idea of what the ask is. And after about an hour and a half, we're going to be getting together in our groups, and each group is going to give a 3-minute presentation on what they came up with. And so now is the time we get into groups. There's 2 ways we can do this. We can count off, which we don't like to do. And the other way is to give everyone about 5 minutes and find 7 or 8 other people. And so let's try to do step 2.
Let's do it, yeah.
And if you have any questions, or if you cannot find a group, raise your hand and one of the organizers will come and help you assign